You're listening to the Level Up Lounge podcast.
Level up.
Level up. Level up.
Level up.
Level up. You're listening to the Level Up Lounge podcast.
What's up, guys? Thank you for joining us on episode 3 of the Level Up Lounge. I just want to really start this episode before we sort of get into the meat and potatoes of it. Just want to start this episode just by thanking all of our listeners. Our podcast has been steadily growing every single episode, which has been awesome. And also, like, our Facebook page is hopping right now. If you guys aren't following us on Facebook, it's just Level Up My Music. So if you do facebook.com/Level Up My Music, it'll take you to our page. We posted a video this last week of martial arts competitor Jacob Ellis. And the reason I'm mentioning this is, first of all, Jacob's an amazing guy, really, really talented martial artist, but he hired us to come up with some crazy music for his musical form, and he just had the vision. He wanted to be Iron Man. So we made some music that made him look and sound like Iron Man. Of course, he did all the hard work because he actually did the martial arts part of it and the performance part of it, which is great. But the video, since we posted it, has been getting 2,500 views a day. Crazy amounts of shares. It's over 100 shares. And I just want to thank all of you guys, our listeners. You guys have been sharing it with everybody. We didn't even ask you to. You've just been doing it. And we appreciate all the love and support from all of you guys listening and everyone that's been following us on Facebook. So thank you for that. And we're going to be running some contests in the next couple of weeks to give away some free stuff for you guys. So we appreciate everything that you guys are doing. Next, I want to get to our guest on the show. So I have been nerding out so hard over this guest. If I had to say I had a man crush on someone in karate, you might say it's this guy, besides Chuck Norris, of course. But we are super excited to be joined by Jessie Enkamp. He runs karatebyjessie.com, has an awesome blog. It is one of the most informative martial arts blogs I've ever been on. He is someone that you can just tell by either watching his YouTube videos or reading his blog that he has a huge passion for what he does. And I think his goal is just to share his knowledge with as much people as possible and just better the sport overall. And you guys will definitely get to see that from our interview today. But if you aren't following him, besides just being an awesome martial artist, he is a social media whiz. Instagram, he's got like 23,000 people following him. He's got like 50,000 likes on Facebook. He runs a Facebook group that has over 10,000 people in it. And all of these people are just like really, really following him because of the great information that he shares consistently about martial arts. And he's got an awesome personality too. And he doesn't take himself too seriously, but he's also a fantastic martial artist. Really clean, and you can tell that he lives martial arts. It's not just a hobby for him. So we're excited to have him on our show today. So without further ado, let's jump right into our interview with Jessie Enkamp. So Jessie, thank you for joining us today. How are you doing?
Thank you very much. It is my absolute pleasure to be with you. I'm doing well. Thank you.
I was so excited to get you booked for an interview. I've been following you for a long time, and many of my students are big fans of you as well. For the people that don't know you or haven't heard of you, which maybe they don't have internet yet, can you give us a quick snapshot of sort of your background?
Yeah, so it's pretty interesting. You could say I grew up in a martial arts environment because my parents had this dojo, this karate dojo, where they taught martial arts. And growing up, I was exposed to all of these different martial arts, not just karate, because we had like kickboxing, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, MMA, all of these things. So you could say the dojo has always been my second home for me and my younger brother. So, at first it was just something I did because my parents took me to the dojo every day. But then gradually it became something of my own. So it became more like a passion, something I did for myself and not just for my parents. Because as kids, we usually just do what our parents tell us, right? So today you could say it has become not just a hobby, but more of a way of life. And even though I compete sometimes, it's not just a sport to me, but more the whole philosophy and then how you can use it to develop yourself as a human being, both inside and outside of the dojo. which means that basically everything I do is somehow connected to karate. And that's why I like to call myself a karate nerd.
That is awesome. And I have to say, I love your karate nerd logo. It's probably one of the most creative logos I've ever seen. It's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. So I sort of grew up as a dojo rat like yourself, where my father owned a martial arts school when I was younger and got into it the same way. So I think that's really cool. Now, your blog has sort of taken over the martial arts community, which I love not only like the knowledge you bring with your blog posts, but you do a really good job of injecting humor in some of your posts as well, which I love. It makes it entertaining at the same time. What was your main reason behind starting the Karate by Jessie blog?
So the reason I started the blog, it was actually because at the time I was living in Okinawa, the birthplace of karate, and I had so many discoveries and cool experiences there that I wanted to learn more about. So I started to search, and I couldn't really find a lot of info online. And then I just decided to take matters into my own hands. So I started my own blog instead. And you could say that this principle is what drives most of what I do. I search for something and I can't find it, so I decide to create the world I want to live in instead.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And I know because of the popularity of your blog, you've gotten a pretty big social media following. And I know a lot of the people that listen to this podcast are martial arts school owners, instructors, and they're trying to increase their social media presence. Was the social media presence just something that happened over time, or did you have a strategy behind it to gain the following that you have?
You know what? From the beginning, I was pretty, I wasn't too enthusiastic about this whole social media thing, to be honest, because I'm not an extrovert. I don't like to show too much, to expose myself, and and this is what you do with social media, right? You're supposed to document your whole life and just lay it out there for the world, right? And that didn't come as a natural part of me. So it took a while for me to learn and understand and see the potential in social media. And today it is basically the state of the internet. It is all we do, basically, most people at least, on their cell phone. So, I mean, I had to learn that stuff, and I think many school owners and karate instructors should learn it as well, because if they want to connect with the next generation, with the younger people like me, then it's a must. So I just started researching and started to learn all of these things. And honestly, I still don't understand stuff like Snapchat, so I'm not even on there. So I guess that's my advice, basically. And then I learned that I needed to be consistent. I needed to be genuine. Don't try to post, fake stuff that's not you. And gradually, I became comfortable with this whole idea. And so now I post something on social media almost every day. So it has become like a habit for me now.
Well, I know I found out about you through Facebook originally.
Yeah.
And obviously you're doing a killer job running your social media accounts. Just to have that many followers is huge, especially for something in the martial arts world. I think you're doing a fantastic job with that. And it's a good example for other school owners to see the possibility of how they can use social media.
Thank you very much.
Of course. Now, I'm not sure how it is in Sweden, but in the U.S., there's sort of a stereotype with some people in the traditional martial arts community that if a martial arts school is financially successful, that it's termed a McDojo. Have you heard that term before?
Right, yeah.
So do you believe that a school can teach solid martial arts and also be financially successful without being a McDojo, as it's called?
Yeah, and that's pretty interesting, because everyone needs food on the table, including your sensei. And I think the most important thing is that you should get what you pay for. And that, to me, is probably the main issue with these McDojos that are popping up, that you think you're buying a certain service or product, but actually you're getting something else. You're getting a watered down product. You're getting something that you did not expect and did not want, but because you're not knowledgeable enough about the whole martial arts, history and culture and tradition, you're not really sure if it's authentic, if it's the real deal or not. and you can't tell in the beginning, right? So usually people get a bit confused, so they email me or they hit me up on social media and start asking me, is my dojo a Mac dojo? Is this a good dojo or not? And I totally understand that, because there are so many schools and styles and masters and instructors all over the world. But at the end of the day, I think the important thing is, do you feel that you're getting what you're paying for? And, even if you're in a Mac dojo, if the training makes you happy, then what is the problem? If that is why you're training, to be healthy, strong, fit, have some fun, meet some new friends, then that's fine. You don't have to be in the most super authentic Okinawan traditional dojo there is, because I understand that is not for everyone. The old school ways of training, it's not fun. So I totally get why there are Mac dojos and these half daycare centers that we see these days, and because there's obviously a need for them.
Sure. And I think from talking to different traditional karate instructors, I feel like sometimes that McDojo sense sort of limits their success financially, because I feel like some of them in the back of their mind feel that if they are going to be financially successful, that they have to completely change what they're doing. When, in my opinion, I don't think that's a fact. I think you can teach traditional karate and be very successful at the same time. But I'm not sure if you've ever encountered that with some of the people that reach out to you.
Yeah, and I think it's important to understand that teaching something traditional should not mean that you're stuck in the past. You got to embrace, for example, social media that we just talked about, right? So if you have a traditional dojo, why not promote those traditional values like honesty, respect, integrity, patience, all of these virtues that are so fundamental in the traditions? You should use modern technology like social media to promote these things so that you can stand out and show people that, hey, traditional karate or traditional kung fu or whatever you're teaching has something to offer the modern human being as well. It's not outdated because it's old. But I think that a lot of people confuse the word tradition because they think it's about preserving the ashes, right? But it's about keeping the flame lit.
That's awesome. I love how you worded that.
Thank you.
So I belong to a lot of martial arts school owner groups on Facebook, and it seems like at least once or twice a month, there's always a debate going on about kids earning black belts. And I'm sure you've heard this before as well. So I know your take on it because I know you had a blog post about it. But can you sort of share your take on it for our listeners?
Yeah, and this is interesting because I was a kid with a black belt growing up in the dojo, and maybe you was one as well. I don't know,
yes.
And I think that many people who start later in life, to them, it is very difficult to get a black belt because they don't have that plasticity in the brain. They don't learn as quickly as kids do. So for them, it's a huge achievement to have a black belt. And they sort of get jealous when kids learn and pick up things much faster than them. So they start bashing these black belt kids online. But I have both perspectives because I used to be a black belt when I was a kid. Now I am a grown-up black belt, and I teach both kids and adults. So I can see it from different angles now. And it is interesting because in Japan and in Okinawa, the birthplace of karate, Shodan, the first level black belt, is not the goal. It is not the end. It is the very beginning. And you have kids running around with black belts everywhere. So, if any of these Westerners would be there, they would freak out. They would think that all of these kids are masters, but they're not, because like I said, Shodan, the first black belt, actually means level 1 or the first level in Japanese. That is where the actual journey starts. Now you have learned the basics and you can now proceed with mastering them.
Awesome. And I totally agree with your opinion. I know not every martial artist does, but when I read your blog post on it, I was like, this is the perfect explanation that I've been trying to tell people, but you just worded it in a much better way than I was. So I appreciate your input on that. That's awesome.
And that was actually a very old blog post because this issue has been around so long. So I'm
Oh,
actually
really?
impressed that you remember that. That tells me a lot that you've been following my work.
Yes, I love it. It's like a daily thing trying to read or watch one of your videos. Now, I'm not sure. Have you heard of extreme martial arts?
Yeah, XMA.
Okay, so yeah, so obviously that's a growing aspect of martial arts competition in the community. And I know that some of the traditional martial artists that I've seen posting in different groups, some of them, and I'm not saying all of them, but some of them feel like it's a disgrace to karate. What are your feelings on extreme martial arts?
Well, I think extreme martial arts is its own thing. I wouldn't call it karate. You could call it influenced by karate or karate based, but it's
Sure.
definitely its own thing. And I mean, if you call it karate, then I think you're not correct. But I gotta say that it's pretty cool that they're doing these backflips and all of these 720 spinning dragon flip kicks. I can't do any of that, and I'm honestly impressed by that athleticism and that the whole showmanship of that. But it is not for me. Honestly, I prefer the traditional ways, using my techniques first and foremost to defend myself, not just as a way of showing my skills or my abilities, and then using that as a tool, as a medium for exploring my own abilities and on the path inward, not outward, not for anyone else, but just for me. And I'm using karate as a tool for self-development, and that could take you to the whole XMA part with backflips and stuff if that's how you want to develop yourself. But I don't see any need for that personally. And I think karate should be a highly personal and individual journey. So if that is what you want, then that's fine with me, but it's not my cup of tea. And that's why I don't promote it and I don't talk about it, because I don't understand it. It is not me.
Sure. And I think some of the confusion what I've seen is I think some martial artists, traditional martial artists, feel like it's being taught as self-defense, with which no way would that ever be able to be used as self-defense.
No.
And I think that's where the confusion comes in with some people. And if someone is teaching that as self-defense, I definitely think they're out of their mind.
Yeah, I agree.
Now, I love. I was going through some of your older blog posts when you were talking to Ian Abernathy about practicing bunkai.
Yeah.
And I believe you posted not too long ago a picture of an iceberg where the top of the iceberg was karate and the big large part underneath the water was bunkai. What do you feel is the proper way that bunkai needs to be taught to make sure that the true translation of it isn't lost?
Yeah, and this is also something that I see is coming back. More and more people are searching for more practical ways of using the techniques of karate. So you have the XMA that we just talked about, which is more to the artistic side, and then we have the bunkai, or the more traditional side, where people want to be able to use their kata, their forms, in more practical self-defense. And that's a natural evolution, because I think when stuff like MMA becomes as popular as it is, then people naturally want their karate to be effective as well. And we start questioning our techniques, like, would this actually work? And
Sure.
then that leads us to this path of searching for the roots of karate. And that's when we discover that, maybe the forms or the kata that we do today were not meant to be used or practiced the way we do them today. Because the whole idea behind kata was that you had these practical self-defense techniques that you did with a partner, and then you could practice those on your own without a partner. And that was kata, or the form. But the application actually came first. But today it's like putting the cart before the horse. We're teaching them in the opposite way, right? And you can say that it's like learning a song in a different language. No matter how beautiful the song is, if you don't understand the words, you don't know what you're singing. And to some people, that is pointless. There is no meaning. And other people think that it's totally fine to sing a beautiful song even if you don't know the meaning of the words. So you have both sides of that coin. But personally, I think it is important to understand the meaning of the techniques, the bunkai, even if you only do kata as performance or as a sport or as a demonstration, because once you have that understanding of what you're doing, your whole spirit changes.
The way you word things is like so intelligent and makes so much sense compared to how I think things through in my brain. So that, I think that's part of the reason I love following you so much is you're able to word things.
Honestly, though, thank you very much. But the reason I generally write rather than talk or speak is because I'm so self-conscious about my English because it's my third language. So I always prefer writing because then I can look words up with Google and I don't have to guess how they're supposed to be pronounced. But thanks anyway.
Well, for English being your third language, you speak it better than most people in America. So yeah, I wouldn't worry about being self-conscious. So in your opinion, thinking about the world of karate and the world of martial arts, is there any like specific aspect that you feel like is missing and not being taught as much as it should be?
Well, first thing that comes to mind is kobudo, which is the art of using karate's ancient weapons.
Sure.
And, if you go to Okinawa or Japan, you see these weapons hanging on the wall of every dojo. So there's something there that, today I think many people have lost or forgotten or never even been taught. And from the beginning, you could say that, one of my masters in Okinawa used to say that karate and kobudo are like brother and sister. So they're family, they're together, and they always stick together. But today we only have, or mostly have, karate only.
Sure.
And the idea was that, if you want to be able to defend yourself, you should be able to use anything in your environment to protect yourself and your loved ones. So if you pick up a stick or if you take up a chair or a bottle and you don't know the principles of that tool or that object that you're holding, then you're handicapped, right? So you would throw that away and just use your arms? I don't think so. You should be able to use anything around you if needed to. But then when karate was modernized and popularized, it sort of got lost because if you can choose between having a dojo with 100 students doing karate or 20 students doing kobudo, because these weapons take up so much space, right?
Sure.
Then obviously you would choose the karate over the kobudo because you need to pay your bills like everyone else. And that is one of the negative side effects of modernizing karate, that we lost some of these things because we needed to have more students in our dojos.
That makes a lot of sense. So I want to get into a little bit, Jessie, about your training. And I know you do a lot of not only physical training, but also mental training as well. So what would you say for you is an ideal week of physical training?
And this is also an interesting question. You have a lot of good questions, my man. But I would say that it depends entirely on where I am in my periodization, depending on what goals I have. I never train the same all the time because I think it was Einstein who said that if you always do the same thing, then you're just always going to get the same results. And I'm not interested in getting the same results over and over. I want to strive to improve my results, right? Progress. So I always switch up my training depending on where I am in my planning, depending on what goals I've set for myself. So for example, if I have a competition coming up, let's say I'm going to the European Championships or whatever, then I would start with a period that includes, some more strength training and more kihon, the basic techniques, higher volume training but lower intensity, and use a lot of variation in my training to make sure that I build a good, solid foundation for the next stage, where I then lower the volume of training but, gradually increase the intensity. And the training gets more and more specific to what I'm about to do on that specific date, which would be, kata, if I compete in kata, or if I compete in like MMA or shoot fighting, it will be that instead. So, the training goes from general to specific, from high volume to low volume, from low intensity to high intensity. And depending on when you ask me, I would give you a different answer in that whole period.
That's great. That's awesome. How would you say your diet factors into your training? Are you someone that is like very careful about what you put in your body, or are you one of the people?
Absolutely.
Okay.
What do you say? The body is your temple, right? Something like that. But I enjoy good food, but I always strive to eat food that is not only tasty but also good for your body with a lot of nutrition, not just energy. So what I actually do is I follow something called the Paleo Diet, which is like, some people jokingly call it the Caveman Diet because it almost mimics what people would eat in the Paleolithic era, like cavemen. So it's, you eat chicken, beef, fish, meat, veggies, a little bit of fruit, nuts, seeds, these basically natural foods. And then you try to cut out processed food or like sugar and bread and pasta, unfortunately, and these types of things. So that's what I do. And I think it's important to understand this because I have a lot of students. Some of them are like elite level competitors as well. And it doesn't matter how good they are in the dojo or how much I teach them or what they perform if they cannot keep that performance up with their aligned with their proper nutrition and sleep, of course, as well. And that's this triangle that I usually draw out. We have the training, we have nutrition and food, and then we have sleep and recovery. And these three need to be in perfect balance. Otherwise, your time in the dojo is, I wouldn't say wasted, but it's definitely not maximized and optimized. And I'm all about that.
And while we're sort of on the subject of diet and fitness, I know a lot of, I'm not sure if you've seen, there's an image going around Facebook a while ago that showed like a first dan black belt in really good shape. And then as it got to second dan to third, all the way up to 10th, you saw the belly getting bigger and bigger and bigger. How important is it for instructors to continue their training, even if they're not training for their next dan or next degree of black belt? How important is it for them to continue training their martial arts?
Well, I think you should always, stay active for your general health and well-being and also your mental health, of course. You don't have to be at an elite level if you're, retired, even though you could train students that become national champions. But it's interesting because when I go to Japan, all of the masters, the sensei in the dojo, the head teacher, they always do everything together with the students. I've never been to a place where a sensei would stand in the corner and go, one more time, or something like that, without doing it themselves. So they always lead by example. And this influenced me greatly. So I always strive to lead by example. And I wouldn't tell my students to do anything that I couldn't do myself, even though they can do it sometimes perhaps better than me. And that's good because then I've succeeded, right, as an instructor. But I should at least be able to do it to some degree, even though I don't have to be a world champion to have world champion students.
That's awesome. And you just, we had Jadi Tenshin. I'm not sure if you've heard of him. He was on as a guest in our first episode. He's a world champion point fighter. But you guys pretty much gave the exact same answer for that question, where he said, I'm not gonna ask my students to do anything I can't do. And he really stressed the importance of instructors continuing their training to be that example. And I love that. That was such a great answer.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So now I want to move on to some more of the fun questions.
Yeah.
So these are 3 questions we ask every guest that we have on the show. First off, what is your favorite karate movie?
My favorite karate movie, can it be any martial art or just karate?
Oh, sure. Yeah, it can be any martial art.
Well, I would have to say one of my favorites it's a movie called Iron Monkey with I think it's Donnie Yen is the actor.
Yes, that's Iron Monkey, yeah.
One of my favorites. It's really cool.
Awesome. Do you have a favorite book you are reading right now?
Oh, what I'm reading right now, I just finished a book called Smart Moves. That's what I'm reading right now, and I'm actually waiting for like 5 new books to arrive. So I'm kind of not reading anything at this very moment. But I have so many favorite books. And I usually try to actually read stuff that is not directly related to karate. I try to learn, other fields and see how to connect the dots. And I think that's a better way to improve something that you do, because if you consider karate like a mountain, sometimes to see your own mountain better, you got to climb the mountain next to yours. So I always strive to expand my knowledge and go into other fields as well to see what I can learn about karate, but not through karate.
Now, do you have like one book that, like, if someone asked you to recommend a book, you'd say this is one to read? This is one of my favorites.
I guess you expect me to tell you that you should read my own books, but I wouldn't recommend my own books because honestly, I've learned so much more since I wrote those books. So don't buy them. But I would say I gotta go with the Bubishi, which is known as the Bible of Karate. And we still don't know who actually wrote it from the beginning, but it has been translated and compiled into many modern editions based around the same old manuscript. And it's like a combat manual from China. And it's the first documented source of transmission of kung fu techniques from southern China, Fujian province, to Okinawa, the birthplace of karate. And that connection has only been like oral testimony if you look, around or past the Bubishi. So that's why the Bubishi is so important. And my favorite version of the Bubishi or translation is by Patrick McCarthy.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And just for our listeners, Jesse's just being humble. Definitely check out his books. And then do you have when you work out ever, do you play music when you work out?
Yeah. I play a lot of music because honestly, I listen to music all the time. I'm pretty artistic, I would like to say, and creative. So I need something to feed my brain, which means that I always listen to music.
I'm the same way. Do you have a favorite song that like pumps you up when you work out?
Not one favorite song. I'm not really good with favorites. Like I don't really have favorites in anything except for carrot cake. But usually it's hip hop, to be honest.
Awesome.
Yeah.
One thing we do with all of our guests is we actually like to make a workout mix for them with their favorite songs.
Yeah.
And then we'd be happy to give you a streaming link so that way you guys can send it out to your followers as well. And we make sure all the music is licensed too, so it's done legally in the right way. Right. So we're looking forward to definitely doing that for you.
Yeah.
Last thing I just wanted to get to real quick, we have a segment we call our Triple Kick. Where we review or recommend 3 different items sort of relative to the martial arts world. And I know that you have a uniform company, is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
Seishin?
Seishin International.
Everyone that does karate in the States talks about how they want to get their hands on a Seishin gi. So can you tell us where we could purchase the uniform and then just maybe a little bit about it?
Yeah, definitely. So like I said in the beginning of this interview, the reason I started my blog was because I searched for blogs and I couldn't really find anything. So I decided to create my own. And that is the exact same reason why I do most of what I do, like seminars and books and videos. And the same goes for the Seishin gi. So for many years, I tried dozens of different karate brands, and I felt like a freak. Like I never found a perfect karate gi that fit my body and had the features and details that I looked for. So I thought that maybe other people had the same problem. So I started asking around, and I did something called crowdsourcing, where I basically got a lot of information from a lot of people to find out what the perfect karate gi is. And then I decided to try to make it. And that was pretty difficult because I don't have any experience with business or anything like that. It was purely as a fun way for me to materialize an idea. And that is what I like about this whole lifestyle that I have, that I can try wacky karate ideas. And some of them work, others fail. But usually I learn something. And this one worked. And the result was the Seishin Karate Gi, which was then crowdfunded because it costs a lot of money to start production of these things. And today you can get that Seishin Karate Gi at station-international.com.
Awesome. Thank you. And then do you have any other items or even like brands of like pads or anything, any items that you feel like are essential to training or maybe just products that you've really fell in love with your training?
Oh, okay. So stuff that I use, for example, speed ladder, which is basically like a ladder that you put on the ground, and then you do these plyometric drills, these
Yes.
footwork speed drills on this ladder. I really recommend that because a lot of karate practitioners need to know how to be quick on their feet, especially if they fight someone who does takedowns and stuff. So if you want to avoid that, then I definitely recommend using a speed ladder for your training, or an agility ladder is another name for it. You can get those from Amazon or anywhere. So that's one thing. And also I use these elastic bands or resistance bands that I just put in on the wall somewhere. And then I do my basic techniques just for warm-up and also for resistance training, but not for technical training because the resistance does not correspond with the correct resistance for practicing your technique. But for strength
Sure.
and for general warm-up, you can use that. It helps me a lot, which is one tool that is included in my strength training program that you can also download called Strength Training for Karate. So I do that for my punches and my hikite, my pulling hand. And that's also you can use them for your legs and stuff and different stances. But I think that a lot of people, sure, a lot of people are using them, but even more people should be using them to understand, first and foremost, how to position and use and align your body's different joints when you generate power. It's not so much about the strength in your arm when you use it. It's more about integrating your whole body into one solid unit. So definitely the elastic bands I recommend. There are some variations where you have a handle and some without. You can find many different, again, on Amazon. I buy most of my stuff on Amazon.
Me too. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your schedule. I know you have a lot going on, so it means a lot to me that you took some time out to share your knowledge with our listeners and your insights on different things. So very appreciative of that. And if people don't know where to follow you, where's the best way that they can follow you and get knowledge from you?
I would say the best way is to visit my website, karatebyjesse.com, and there you can sign up for my 25 karate hacks. And when you do that, I get your email because I send that to you. And then I usually send out these email updates with info to stay in touch with me, like my upcoming seminars and other stuff that I release, but also, of course, on social media like Facebook or Instagram, where I'm most active.
Awesome. Again, Jessie, thank you so much for joining us on the Level Up Lounge. We are honored to have you as a guest, and I look forward to going to one of your seminars someday. Hopefully, we can get you out to the States and do a seminar, because I know people would go crazy out here for that.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Adam-san. It was my honor and pleasure.
Thanks, Jessie. Wow, what an awesome interview with Jessie. Jessie, we are so grateful to have had you on our show, and we're thankful that you took the time out to share your knowledge and your views and your input with us. And if you guys aren't following Jessie, I highly recommend go to his website as soon as you're done listening to this, sign up for the mailing list, or follow him on Facebook. You will get so much information that you can immediately put into action to further your martial arts training and your knowledge base. So definitely go do that as soon as you're done listening. Now, before I sign off, I just wanted to share a quick experience that I had with one of our students well, actually not the student, the parent of the student. They sent me a Facebook message, and I'll explain to you in just a moment why I'm sharing this. So let me read her Facebook message. I noticed this evening that Ben was refusing to go to karate. He said he wanted to quit. I told him that he needed to get ready to go because we are committed to it right now, and quitting is not a choice. I already knew this was a temporary decision. He went to class tonight and had a fantastic time. He now thinks it's great and wants to do it forever. I'm so glad I didn't believe him, and I made him go anyway. So I responded, I just thanked her, and I told her that I was actually proud of her for holding Ben accountable for his commitment, because it's not always easy to do as a parent, but I was really proud that she stuck to her guns, and her response was great too. She said, fortunately, we've never let Ben make decisions for our family since he is a kid. but it scared me because he wanted to quit because I didn't want him to. So a lot of times, guys, the reason I'm sharing this with you is we get these concerns brought up from parents about, well, John, I had a hard time getting Johnny to class today, or it was tough getting him to come to class, or he said he wanted to quit. And one of the things that we found from our experience is the kids are very present-minded. For example, if they're having fun doing something, they're not going to want to stop doing that to go switch mindsets and do something else. So if they're playing video games or watching TV, that's the mindset that they're in. And since they're very present-minded, they're not going to want to leave that. So we usually encourage our parents to do this little parenting hack, if you want to call it that, if they have a child that struggles with them to get ready, whether it's coming to karate, basketball, school, whatever it is. And this is actually something my parents did with me as well. So what I usually tell them is I say, Mrs. Smith, you know what, that is a completely common thing with kids in all sorts of different activities. A lot of times kids are very present-minded, and when they're doing something that they really enjoy before they have to leave, they don't really want to stop doing it. So one thing that I found out through our experience is if you have Ben do something that maybe he doesn't look forward to as much before you have to get ready to go somewhere, when it's time to stop what he's doing, he's going to be a lot more excited to actually go do what you need him to do. So for example, maybe next time before it's time for karate, about 20 minutes before it's time to get ready, you have Ben clean his room. So now when you come up and say, all right, Ben, it's time to get ready for karate, Ben's excited because he gets to stop cleaning his room, and he's not going to be giving you a hard time to go somewhere. And that's something that worked with me personally when I was a kid, and I know that's worked for a lot of our parents here at Superstar Karate as well. So I want to share that with you guys, just because I know it's a pretty common thing that has happened throughout my experience in martial arts, and even from like different coaches that I've talked to in other sports. They have parents that struggle with that as well. And it's a really easy thing to do. And then that sort of inspired me to post in our student Facebook group, just sort of thanking all the parents. And I pretty much thank them for something that not all of them have even done yet. So I did a little letter just thanking them for being great parents that hold their kids accountable, that praise their kids when they do well, but also don't let them give up when things get tough or when they don't feel like doing something. And I think that's really important because right then I'm letting the parents know that, hey, this is what great parents do, and I'm thanking them for it before they even take action on it, just because I know it's something that will help parents, because parenting is not the easiest thing in the world. And as you guys know, it takes a village to raise a kid. And I think as martial arts instructors, sometimes we just need to be there to support the parents and actually just show that we care about the kids. And caring's the biggest thing, guys. If you show that you actually care about your students and you care about your kids and you take time out to help them with different challenges, and we may not all be experts on every challenge that our students go through, but being there just to listen sometimes and support the parents at your school is a huge thing. So I encourage you guys, that's my challenge for you guys this week, is just be a great listener to the parents at your school, be there to support them. And I encourage you guys in your Facebook groups this week to thank the parents for being great parents that don't allow their kids to quit or give up when it gets easy, and being great parents that hold their kids accountable for what they do, and encourage them to give their best effort, and just sort of check out the response that you get from the parents as well. So I'm going to leave you guys with that tonight. I want to thank everyone for checking out our podcast. I hope you guys enjoyed the interview with Jessie. And if you haven't subscribed yet, make sure you guys subscribe to our podcast so that way you guys get updated every 2 weeks when we post a new episode. Thanks again for checking out the Level Up Lounge, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
LevelUpMyMusic.com.
Level Up Music, the #1 music streaming service for martial arts schools. Get clean, family-friendly, motivating music mixes that your students and parents will love. It's so easy to use. All you need is a phone, tablet, or computer with an internet connection, and you're ready to start streaming. Upgrade the atmosphere in your school. Get started today.